Hi, this is Kate from Izzalicious Designs. I'm going to do another tips and tricks video this morning for you, and we're going to be working on our looms, Rainbow Loom, and specifically the base plates and how you can move these base plates to change the configuration of your loom. Now, let's talk about some of the things first. When you look at your loom, you have these long rows of pegs. Okay, so this is a column of peg or a row of peg, depending which way you hold your loom. So this is a row or column of pegs. Okay, these are movable. You can move these around. On the bottom here, you have the base plates. You have these two little ones and a large one. Now the other thing that you need is your Rainbow Loom hook. Now on the end of your hook, you've got this bulky sort of contraption on the end. This is actually really important. It's called your base removal tool, and when you're wanting to change the configuration of your loom, you pop this little edge here of your base removal tool between the two columns of pegs under your base plate, and you can pop your base plate out like that. Okay, so you can actually move your base plates around. Now when I do a figure, I tend to have my loom in what's called the offset configuration, or a staggered configuration, where columns 1 and 3 are lower than column 2. So it sort of forms this angle, this peak at the top here. And I usually work with my open part of the peg facing towards me, or if you have an original loom, you will have a little red arrow that faces towards you. When you're bracelet making, you usually have your loom the other way. So depending on what sort of thing you're making, depends on which way your loom is being facing you. If you're in a standard configuration, your columns are usually all the same height. It doesn't usually matter when you're just using a single loom where your base plates are. Normally you would make it so that the smaller ones are holding both ends, all 3 columns firmly, and the middle one, which is larger, holds the mass of your loom. When I'm doing things like the move it forward technique, what I'm very often doing is laying my bands on all 3 of these columns of pegs. But then because I'm working with just a single loom, I like to be able to move my base plates and a freed up column forward. And so I take my base plates and I will move them at different times, and I'll move my small ones so that they are just holding on to columns 2 and 3 like this, and then the big base plate is holding on to the first one. Well, then I can move that column and budge it forward. So this is for my mural technique of moving it forward. But as you can see, you can move these. Now there are going to be times when you might have 2 looms and you want to join them together. So you need to configure a way of what's going to hold all of these columns securely, so that as you're working on your pegs, one's not going to flip off, because that would be really annoying. So the best way to do it is take your base plates off. I take the little ones off. Make sure that your columns are all about the same height, unless you're doing something that tells you, column 1 is this. But I tend to work with all of them at the same height to start with. Now, if you put your looms together side by side, you're going to see, and I'll do it this way so that you can see everything. One of the things you have to remember, make sure that your pegs are all facing the same way. That's really important, because if you have one loom with the pegs facing the other way, we're going to be in a world of trouble. So make sure your pegs are facing the right way. Okay, so what is best? What's the best way for us to capture all of these 6 together? Like if you have here and here, okay, and then you have to jiggery pokery how you're going to do this. So take your mini base plates out. Sorry, my arm's in the way. And you're going to say, okay, I need to connect these 2. So you can connect it like that, and then you can put one pair up here. But you have this that's going to be a bit loose. So to try and give this bit a bit of stability, because this one's by itself, you'll do the opposite of what you did here, like that. So these two are a bit flimsy, but it is still going to hold your loom. You will need to be careful when you're looming. I mean, you don't want things to go all over the place. So that, to me, is a nice strong construct to do. Now, there might be times when you're actually wanting to put your loom, instead of making it wider, you might want to make it taller. So what's the best way to make it taller? Let's take these out and put them back in so that you can see what we're about to do. So we've got our two looms here, and we want to make them taller. So the best option for us to make it taller is to have a big base plate, one of the big base plates going on the join. So what I tend to do is take off my large base plate and I swap it for a mini base plate. Put one mini base plate there. I'm going to swap it for this mini base plate on the other loom as well, and I'm going to put that there. So I'm keeping this one all together, and then work out where you want this to be. Now obviously you want your loom to be together, so make sure they're together, and you will find that there's a certain gap between. So for example, I've gone through 1, 2, 3 and 4 pegs here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's normal. Okay, so this is how you would make your loom longer. You end up with the 3 small base plates, a big base plate, and then your other loom, your second loom, is pretty much the same as it would normally be, except for the bottom base plate. So I hope that helps a little bit. As I said, it's usually it should be quite difficult to take them apart. You do want to make sure that you hold your loom. If you have made adjustments to it, you want to make sure that you secure it in place by holding it with your hand. If you were, for example, just changing it from standard configuration to the staggered configuration, you leave your base plates where they are. You don't actually need your tool. You can put your thumbs through and pop that one out and lift it up. And you'll find also that you can lift it up by, so this is straight, you can lift it up by half a peg, so it goes up just a little bit, or you can lift it up so that these are straight and that's up like that. So be careful when you're moving it up that you might only want to go half a space instead. What else can I tell you about this? Yes, mural making. When you want to make a mural, one way of doing it is the 2-pin method. So take your base plate to as far to the end as you can go on either side, like this. You're going to pop out your middle column of pegs. Now I should mention you can buy these separately. If you ever have one that breaks, you can buy a separate column of pegs. I believe you can buy separate base plates too. Now to do the 2 column, the two peg, pop out the big base plate like that, and you are left with your loom looking like this. And this is the area that you would make your, you forget about these 2 either side, but you could make your mural on these pegs, and you do that by, well, there's loads of different videos on how to do that, but this is how the configuration of your loom would look. The other thing to remember is if you don't have a monster tail or something like that, and you want to make something that is in a circular, this is sort of like a very big monster tail, and it's what we used to use before the monster tail came out, where you actually use your bands, and I'll grab some bands, and as you're placing them on your loom, and I'll just do a small one, so we do 4 down here, and then you would go across like this. So this is the same sort of way of using your loom as a monster tail to do something that is continuously round. And you might have seen people like Ellen and Craft Life doing, and myself doing designs using this sort of configuration on our loom. So that is taking the middle column out to do some designs. So anyway, I hope that helps. Feel free to leave your comments, and I'll chat with you later. Take care. Bye.